Backed by popular demand, this is straight out of the box. For the last few days, you guys have been devouring these videos, so for this episode, we're going to look at what I believe is the most breakout commander of the set, and most likely the chase mythic of all the commander sets, Meren of Clan Toth. For only 2 colorless, 1 black, and 1 green, we get a 3 power and 4 toughness human shaman with badass art. To trigger her experience counter is incredibly easy, only requiring creatures you control to die in some form or fashion, and her main ability triggers at the end of turn. What this means is you don't have to wait for it to go around the table before you get value out of her, or cast spells as soon as you cast her. Furthermore, her ability triggers regardless of how many experience counters you have, returning a creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or going straight to the field, depending on how many counters you have. Seems strong, right? Now that you know a little bit about her, let's see how the deck played. I would have to say that Meren's experience counter ability and trigger were most likely the strongest of all the 5 new commanders. You could tap out to cast her, and on the same turn you could automatically get some value by returning a card to your hand. If you had a way to sacrifice creatures that same turn, you come out of the gates running as opposed to a gallop. I would say the thing that sets her apart from the rest of the commanders is the fact that her ability triggers regardless of whether or not you have any experience counters. The graveyard to hand aspect is incredible and offers you a lot of choice, as the remaining decks have little to no graveyard hate. Fuel for Meren's ability was plentiful. The deck comes with 37 creatures of various usage to either recur or sacrifice repeatedly. Having been on the receiving end of an end of turn Terastodon, I can say that the deck had some serious power behind it once it got going. However, I feel like the deck had a very slow start. Most of the good creatures cost 4 or more mana, and the curve tops out at 8. The smaller creatures are good, offering a variety of abilities such as draw or mulch-like effects, but they are few and far between. Like the other decks, 39 lands was the norm, but I like the addition of Grim Backwoods and High Market to provide us with more ways to sacrifice our creatures. Furthermore, similar to Kalemne, we need a lot of mana to cast our big creatures if our Meren engine can't get off. Anyway, Grim Backwoods and High Market leads us to my next point. It seemed like oftentimes you had to struggle with sacrificing more than 1 creature a turn. Whether it was from High Market only being able to be used once per turn, to the high cost of activating Guildmage or Jared, you could often only kill off 1 of your creatures per turn. I suppose this was a way to keep Meren in check and not let her ability run out of control. But even still, cards like Blood Baron were always a welcome draw. That was also one of my largest problems with the deck, the inability to put a specific creature card into our graveyard. I'm not advocating that they include Buried Alive, but a card like Corpse Connoisseur would have been strong and not broken, and a great addition to the deck to provide us with a silver bullet-like effect should we need it. There also seemed to be a token element to the deck, which seemed a bit out of place. I understand that they applied themselves well to being sacrificed for value, but I wonder if they could have included more sacrificed or reanimate type effects. The same could be said about the Overrun theme with math pumps in the form of Eldrazi Monument, Bloodspore Thrynax, which yes, both double as attack outlets, Great Oak Guardian, and Overwhelming Stampede. These seemed alright, but were a little out of place and could have been more graveyard related. What the deck did really well was single target removal of creatures and artifacts and enchantments. Cards like Shriekmaw and Putrefy allowed the deck some strong removal, while Butcher of Malakir and Barter in Blood dealt with indestructible or hexproof creatures. So once again, this is just my thoughts on the deck. I will be providing a link in the About section to a Reddit discussion where they discuss possible cuts, additions, and good cards. Overall, the deck proved incredibly resilient, consistent, and strong once it got going. Oftentimes, opponents needed to find a way to exile a creature or the entire graveyard in order to stop them from going to Value Town with the Meren just dominating the game. Meren as a creature was pretty incredible, and I can see many new Golgari-based Reanimator decks being built around her. However, I'm not completely sold on her as one of the 99. It can be difficult to get her back as a creature, and doubly so if she's removed from the game, which makes those experience counters you've built up useless. Thematically, the deck does a pretty decent job feeling like a Reanimator deck. It lacks the dredge component that I often see associated with this playstyle, but otherwise there are a few good creatures and spells that can fill the graveyards. I would give the deck a 6 on 10 as well for keeping on theme. In terms of playability, and I'm going to parrot myself again, but the deck was very strong once it got going late game. Early game, however, and especially against the aggressive decks like Azuri or Kalemne, the deck can struggle due to its lack of cheap removal and creatures. Even with all that said, the deck did quite well in the tournament, coming in second out of the 5 in terms of wins. I would give it a 6 on 10 for how well it plays out of the box and how well it held its own. Anyway, that's my review on Meren of Clan Nel Toth. I hope you enjoyed it, and the deck Wizards of the Coast have provided us for this year. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe this video.